Hey, everybody.
Welcome to Trust Relations, the podcast.
I'm here with April, the founder of Trust Relations and the doyen of all things public relations.
And of course, we're joined by the wonderful Hamish, our marketing lead and expert in the space, who I like to call my marketing other half.
We're tackling some of the biggest topics in news and integrated marketing and learning from the mistakes that make headlines or sink brands.
So join us as we have a chat about what works, what doesn't, and what we have to say about all of it. So Hamish, how's your week been so far? I know it's Thursday there, so it's almost Friday.
It is almost Friday. It's 8:44 on a Thursday. It means the day's underway. It's exciting. I'm over the spicy cough, I think, so I'm back.
Good. Spicy cough. I've never heard it described that way.
You've never, no, that's doing the rounds here. If you get the Rona, you've got the spicy cough.
Spicy? Why is it spicy?
Oh, I don't know. It's just one of those things, I guess.
Makes it sound a lot more appealing.
It's exotic.
Sounds like something you want. Like, I want the spicy cough. Give me that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have something to go with the spicy cough. Yeah, I know you had it, so you understand. It was horrible.
It was horrible.
Everyone in my house got a really nice, mild version. My wife, it was a little bit sicker than the kids, and I didn't get it. And I thought, I'm superior. I've got superior genetics. And then it bit me hard. 2 weeks later, I felt...
Got too cocky.
I really did. And it hurt. Day 2 and 3 were horrendous. Like, I felt like I had lava in my head. My eyes burnt, my throat burnt, my nose was hurting, cough was terrible. Yeah, not fun. So that hit me for better part of 10 to 12 days. And then this week, I've still got a little bit of a lingering cough occasionally. But I'm better. I'm back and I feel like I'm operational again.
Good. That's very good.
And how are you? How's midweek going for you?
Well, today I was under the delusion it was Friday, so I guess that shows you how busy the week's been.
Wow.
I had this moment where I really thought it was the end of the week. And then I realized, oh, no, it's Wednesday.
Do you think the hours you're pulling may be having an effect on you finally?
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Not so good.
I mean, in the past week, I have started a boutique store, rescued a cat, almost rescued a second cat, and rescued a goat. And one of the cats now lives here, and the goat I rehomed because he was smelly.
Was he?
Oh my God, yes. Also, I didn't know this until the people came to pick up the goat, but apparently, true story, male goats pee on themselves to make themselves
pheromones.
Attractive. Yes. And
I've tried that trick before. Doesn't work. Really doesn't work. Okay, no, I haven't. Listeners, I really haven't, I promise.
So he was smelly. I mean, like really smelly.
Do you wash them? Do they need washing, goats?
Not usually, no. And they hate water like cats.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. So if you really want to piss them off or make them do something, make them not
get
do
a hose.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
All you have to do is hose them. Off they go.
Very good to know. Okay. Well, that's been a big week. How's the store?
The store is amazing.
What's it
thanks
called?
in large part, Cowgirls and Fairies.
Interesting name.
Yes.
Is there a background?
Not necessarily, other than that, I think that it kind of encompasses my ruggedness / ethereal leanings. So there's this sort of, I like the juxtaposition, and I started to fall in love with Arizona's fashion style. I saw these girls in Tucson that were doing this kind of like desert cowgirl, boho chic kind of fairy. Like, I was like, this is amazing. What are they like? They have these cowboy boots, but they're wearing these flowy dresses, and they have these cute fedoras, and they're all belt. I was like, that's hot. So
the Harajuku girls of Texas. You know, the Harajuku girls of Japan. They're just mix and match fashion. Like, you know, they'll take a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's all over the top, but it works.
Yeah, no, and so I started seeing this throughout Arizona, and you know, I just thought it works. Like, it's cute. So
Mm.
that's part of why the style of the store, because there's some clothes there and things, is kind of in that vein, right? So you might have like really rugged cowboy boots, but they're like designer cowboy boots, so they look super hot, you know. Yeah, it's funny. Aaron, when he came in, said it looks like you, and it all works because even though it's totally different, it's all stuff you like. So it comes from that.
Mm.
There's still that sort of core identity of something that is a part of
So
you, and
is
so
it all
and
purple?
no, but the walls are purple.
Uh-huh. See? I
It
knew
comes
something.
back. It's always purple. Purple is somewhere.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's purple walls, and then the rest of it. Well, black too, black and purple. But it's yeah, it's kind of that rustic.
Bruised color.
When you say
No,
that, what
sorry.
is
Let me come up with a better name.
purple?
Like a blackberry. Okay. So purple and black. I like it. Good combination. Yes. No, I see. I see what
It's
you've
like
done there.
cowgirls and fairies,
Of course.
you know. But yeah, so then and
No, I
then
don't.
like
But yes.
the decor is like kind of like it's all like a little bit rustic, industrial, that kind of vibe, and then ethereal accents and things. So there's like, you know, mystical looking curtains in the front with lights in between them. So
Mm.
they're sheer curtains that have, you know, twinkle lights coming through, and
Oh, it's a
um
little playground.
yes, it's definitely
Nice.
sort of like, yeah, it's sort of like a grown up girl child playing store.
Well, good luck. I hope it goes very well. Playing shop.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's my week. It's a weird week.
Yeah, it's
But a
good.
good
You
good week.
can't make them all normal.
No, I wouldn't want to. I
Exactly.
I always prefer when things are a little like there's a little touch of magic happening.
Good. So you should. Magic is important.
It is.
Hi, everybody. This is your show producer, Veronica, chiming in with today's communications buzzwords. April's word today is rebuke. And for Hamish, today's word is yen. Okay, enjoy the rest of the show.
Okay, for news of the day, Hamish,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
we have a few options.
No. What do you want to dive into? Hit me with what you think. Because
So
there's a lot of good stuff out there at the moment.
there is a lot of good stuff. So the first thing on my list was that we're discovering that millennials aren't always about the digital experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, in a way, that's good for the marketing department, but it also means that you have to sort of go backwards, which is something we've talked about before. We've talked about going back to connecting on an emotional level and things like that.
Mm.
But what they're discovering is that really the best way to get millennials is through old fashioned methods like an old fashioned greeting card that's delivered
Mm-hmm.
to them and things like
Yeah.
that. And it's funny because I'm a millennial. No, I'm not. But
Uh-huh.
I do have a pet company called Chewy that I get
Mm.
deliveries from, and they handwrite all of their cards to you. And they'll handwrite birthday cards to your animals and address them and send you
Uh,
handwritten Christmas cards and things like that. And it's very charming
it's
and
memorable.
it's memorable, and it's like, why am I getting a Christmas card from Chewy? Oh, that's cute.
Well, that's the thing. And look, I think because that article, I remember that saying that millennials are at digital saturation. They're not going to spend any more time on their devices.
Yep.
So trying to force them onto new platforms means you're just going to erode them on others rather than increase overall time on
Mhm.
device. So how else can you grab attention? Well, I think that it's going to come full circle. It's going to become again about customer service, dare I say it. What value do you actually add? I know,
The
I know.
hard
This is
gasp.
shocking. Can you believe it? People will be people. Um, I know. Look, I know that there's a whole heap of arguments out there, and we can touch on those maybe later. But there's AI, and there's all these things that are existing to simplify our lives. But at the end of the day, we're humans, and what we crave is human interaction. We want people to treat us like people, and if we can get that piece of old-fashioned mail that is tangible, that's addressed to us, that's not a bill, we're happy. You open up, what is it? Is it a bill? No, it's not. It's a greeting card. This is fantastic, and I think that that's like you said, it pulls at the heartstrings, or it,
Mm.
depending on the brand, it could just be a really nice way of touching base. I like it. I think it's very cool. But it made me think: is this being driven by millennials, or is this a now moving back to a reliance on people who, like you, are just a little bit beyond the millennial bracket? Who have a little bit more knowledge of the
Just a
offline
skosh,
world. Just you're an
just a
outlier in
hair.
there. Just you're
Actually,
just an outlier.
I am very close. Like I'm, and I've been confused with Eliza Schlesinger before. I don't know if you know her. She's a female
Mm,
comedian,
I don't
and
know her.
she kind of looks like we could be sisters. And she has
Ah.
an entire stand up segment called Elder Millennial, because she's just like on the outer skirts. I'm a little older than I'd be her older sister, but
I got
she's
you.
the elder millennial, and I'm the like screeched
Yeah,
into the other.
yeah. I'm here. Don't forget me.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but it makes me wonder, this subset of skills. I mean, if we're going back to offline, to direct mail, and to all of those other areas which are not digital, which were native to the generation who've just grown up in the last 20, 25 years. Who are they using and tapping on the shoulder? Is it a new skill set that they're learning, or is it actually going to be that people who were doing this before digital happened are now becoming skill set demanded?
Hmm.
Is that an expression? Can I use that one? Skill set demanded.
You just did.
I did, and I'm going to use it a third time sometime soon.
Pray tell that's not your word of the day.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Skill set demanded. That would be very easy.
It'll
But
be
no, I think,
very weird.
yeah, it would be. I think, yeah, look, I honestly think whatever it is, whether it's the younger generation expanding skill sets or it's an older one, I like seeing it inserted back in, and it really gives more credibility to that whole concept of omni-channel marketing, and that whole thing
Hmm.
of at every touch point. And when customer service comes back into the fore, and it's not digital customer service, I love it.
Yeah. I wonder if it's also, so there was another article I saw about content marketing expected to grow by 417.85 billion
Mm-hmm.
between 2020 and 2025. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if there's a related theme happening where people are getting back to doing more educational, helpful, insightful content that actually reaches and provides value for consumers, right? Do you think that this is coming from the same place of this need to make sure
I
that we're giving people that personal touch?
I think, I mean, uh, yes and no. I mean, it really depends on the classification in that report. Whether or not they're talking about content marketing as digital content marketing only, or if they're looking at content in the broadest sense of the word, where it's content online, offline, whether or not it's taking into account things like writing a letter and a piece of direct mail.
Hmm.
I think that's potentially coming from the same spot. Um, but I do remember reading in that article that they talk about the rise in social media numbers. And so I think that they're then talking about the need for more content for social media. So I think that they're slightly different. Uh, but I think what it does say is that people are realizing that content is, well, what was that expression from 20, 30 years ago? Content is king. I agree, content is king, but I think that content, and I've said this before to you, I don't know if we've talked about it, but content is irrelevant without that X factor, which I call context. And in this instance, I think without knowing the context of where that content's being used, I can't answer your original question. But I think content is making a massive comeback, and it's got to be meaningful and add value. And I'm just thinking back to the earlier days of SEO where people would just churn out spammy, rubbish-filled content just to get it out there, so they could have backlinks to their website, and the whole black hat SEO thing.
Hmm.
And content was a means to an end rather than a value add. And
Right.
I think that this article talking about a huge rise of, what was it? You said 417 billion.
470.85 billion.
The 8.5 was important. Yes, that's true. I mean, what's
I just
what's
had to
another eight?
correct you. I just have to be
What's
right.
Another 850 million. I mean, it's
I
pocket
just have
change.
to rebuke you because you're not using the proper number.
Fair enough. Fair. Yeah, look, it's huge and it's not going anywhere. And as long as it's contextual and relevant, long live content.
I feel like
What do you think?
there needs to be applause or something. Ah! No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the other thing that it makes me wonder is if it's also in a response to people not being able to feel like they are able to reach consumers through mainstream media because it's for two reasons, because it's become so fractionalized, but
Mm,
also because it's become less credible. And I mean, I even know when I went to Super Zoo, that trade show in Vegas I went to,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I talked to a couple people who said, yeah, we stopped doing PR. We're producing our own magazine now. That's what we do. And they had just claimed it. They were like,
Interesting.
we don't do PR. We're doing own channels only. And so that was the first time I had heard somebody say that. And they were doing a really cool magazine. It was like a dog magazine. I think it was called Wolf or something. Woof, not wolf. Woof.
Whoa.
Woof.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that was interesting. So then it started to make me think, oh, I wonder if people are leaning into owned media because they just had, the success that they were having. And I shouldn't even say this because I'm leading the PR charge, but I'm wondering if people are getting more reliant on content marketing and
Mm.
diversifying a bit more than just doing paid ads or PR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It
So
makes a lot
I
of
don't
sense.
know.
You speak sense.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know. I've been working hard at it. I took some
Uh,
lessons on Rosetta Stone, so I've been like practicing.
yeah. No, it's paying off. Time
Good.
well spent.
Oh, good. Now I can visit Sunstom.
That's right.
It'll be great. It's gonna be fun. Can't wait for that trip. Okay, so the other thing that we found this other article about the New York Times and their
I,
brand campaign.
I like this one. I like the New York Times article and
So
the
set the stage for the listeners.
dear listeners, welcome to our journey. Excuse me.
I'll meet you in Sunstom.
Yeah, that's right. No, I don't know how many of our listeners have heard that the New York Times launched a new marketing campaign, which they've titled Independent Journalism for an Independent Life. And in the article, I've read a couple of articles, but in one of them, they were talking about the fact that the strategy underpinning this was based on the fact that independent journalism should exist to make readers' lives more fulfilling. And it would be interesting to get your viewpoints before I give you mine on why you think they've done it, whether it works, and see if they're hitting the mark or if this is just a pie in the sky attempt to change the brand for some reason that we are unaware of.
Well, I think this is in response to news media credibility suffering, and that the New York Times is going out there to
Hmm.
try to say, we're not owned by who you think we're
Yeah.
owned by. We're not owned by a political party. We're not
Yeah.
owned by the companies behind the political parties that actually provide the funding to make them successful, right? I think that's what they're up to, is sort of reminding, endearing themselves to readers to make them feel safe that it's independent journalism. And also I think it's in response to the Substack trend, right? So all
Mm.
these journalists are going to Substack to do their own thing and doing their own newsletters basically, and then people are going there. And then the New York Times was one of the outlets that responded to it by developing their own independent Substack-esque newsletter
Mm.
for writers as well. So I think that they're suffering from the idea of independent journalists that are going elsewhere.
I agree.
And so this is also, I think, a response to that trend. I do think it's clever. I saw straight through it, so I don't know
Yeah.
how many other people are going to feel the same, or if they're going to
Hmm.
think, "Oh, I love the New York Times. They're there for the independent person," because it sort of veiled what I thought was interesting is the execution is more about, you know, helping independent people
Mm.
with
Well,
independent news. So it was like more of a focus. I mean, they kind of veiled the initial intention as in the product.
I think it's interesting. I think that there's twofold. I think you're right. One is the political aspects with regards to the independence that you've touched on, and I totally agree with that. Um, I think it's also about making people feel aspirational. I'm an independent thinker. No one tells me what to do. And I think that that stems from
Mm.
that whole sheeple movement that came out with coronavirus and you can't tell me what I have to do. This is my health. You don't know, you can't mandate vaccines. You can't tell me wear a mask. You can't tell me when I can and can't send my kids to school. All of those things. And I think that this taps into give yourself some independence. Be aspire to something greater. Think independently. We will give you the news that's important to you and curated especially for you. And it might be a masterstroke eventually in people going, actually, I do want to think independently, and I would like independence. And I hadn't thought about your Substack considerations, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it could be all of the above. I mean, I will say, in terms of addressing the issues that I think they're up against, I think it's done brilliantly. I think that's the only option they have, right? If
Mm,
I mean it, the campaign is spot on. It addresses, for all the reasons that we've brought up,
yeah,
why they need to do that. The execution was good. I thought the photos were good. I thought they did a nice job of. It has a very New York feel of
yeah,
pulling, the New Yorkers who are doing their own thing. And New Yorkers do pride themselves on being super independent, and they're very unique, and everyone's sort of, doing their own thing and has their own style of dress. And, I mean, there is that aspect to
mhm.
New York that I think they did a really nice job of capturing.
Mm.
So I think that it's done well. Whether or not it will actually help, I'm not sure.
That will be the true test, won't it? But
Yeah.
they're not going to ever release those figures to us.
No. I mean, I sort of doubt it will be helpful, but I think it's a valiant effort.
Look, I agree. I think in terms of execution and rationale, it makes sense. I think it's probably a clever pivot and it's pivoting ahead of the competition. So it gives them some clear space, which they can then
Hmm.
own as well,
Yep.
which ties into that independence thing. So kudos to them.
Okay. 2 thumbs up, 10 thumbs up.
That's right.
All right. So, Hamish, do you want to kick off Lost in Translation?
Absolutely. Let's dial back the time clock as well for this one.
Ooh.
I'm going to take you back to something which was from the 90s here in Australia. It's an ad from Telstra called The Great Wall of China. Telstra, just as a quick background, is our largest telco provider. Everything from landlines back in the day to mobile phones and internet. And when we were rolling out, we were a bit behind you guys probably, the broadband connections to every house and people getting the access to have something faster than a dial-up modem. They rolled out this campaign which was about understanding the divide between how people were accessing information and how they could get it faster. And they rolled out an ad called The Great Wall of China. Now, I don't know, have you looked at it?
I just did. I just
And what did
did.
you think? What did you take away from it?
Well, it's very, very funny. Definitely has the classic Australian humor. The piece of it
Hmm.
that I really didn't understand, aside from the fact that the dad had no idea why the Great Wall of China was built when his son asked, and he was tripping all over his answer and combining all of these responses. There was some goulash of like Nazi reference and something else, right? And then it was like, to keep the rabbits out. And then I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell's the rabbit part?
Yeah, and look, and I think this is where it loses it. I mean, it's a classic: the dad driving the kid to school, the kid doing his homework in the back of the car because he hasn't prepared enough, and the dad just stumped by. I don't know why they built the Great Wall of China. So as you said, it's a mishmash, and he's there, and I think he refers to Emperor Nazi Goring, which I think is actually Malaysian food. I could be wrong, not Chinese. Which gives it that little bit of extra humor. And but I think the reason that the dad goes for it's to keep the rabbits out. Something that probably doesn't translate at all is in Australia there was in the 1800s a big fence that was built along the borders of each state, and it was called the territory fence, but it was nicknamed the rabbit-proof fence. And the whole idea was, it was keeping livestock from one side of the border out, and vermin more than livestock, and so nicknamed the rabbit-proof fence. So I think the dad's referenced that in his answer, And then classically, as the ad closes out and we see the kids there in class and the teacher introduces him as about to do his talk on China, which, as we can all imagine, does not go well when he starts talking about Emperor Nazi Goring. So I think
That's
the
where
ad
I thought he said Nazi. I had no idea it was Emperor.
is
So
referencing the Germans as well.
it was lost even more than I thought. I thought he was trying to do like the German wall and the China wall and the Australia wall, like one big mess.
Yeah, look, in Australia, everyone walked around, well, I was going to say years, that's probably a stretch, but number of months just quoting that ad. And Telstra have a number of ads over time where they were very iconic ads, and I can think of another one, which maybe we can do another time for Lost in Translation. I'll keep up my sleeve. It was called Not Happy Jan. At that time, they were very resonant with Australians. Clearly, it doesn't translate very well, though.
No, but it's very funny. So here's my question for you.
Mm.
What question have your kids asked you that you have answered that poorly?
I remember a time when I was in an IKEA lift. My daughter was probably 2 or 3 at the time and had been noticing different body shapes. And we had told her that it was impolite to say to people, "Why are you so fat?" And we were in this lift and she looked up at this lady as a 2-year-old. I'm holding her hand. And she looks up and she looks down and she looks up and she goes, "Daddy, why is that lady so round?" And the whole elevator turned at me and went, "This will be good. How are you going to answer this one?" I didn't have an answer. Unfortunately, the doors opened and I ran out of there faster than I've ever run before. So I didn't have to answer it, but I remember thinking like that guy did. I don't know what to say.
Wait, did the woman hear her say that?
Oh, most definitely.
Oh no.
Oh, my daughter. Look, kids in general. I've realized why parents embarrass their kids when they get older. It's called retribution.
So should we move on to marketing conundrums?
We should. In this one, I think we should tap into speaking to clients and getting briefs from clients who haven't done their research and don't really understand who their audience are. So they're not sure. They come to us with briefs of, "I need to go out there and I need to get this message across." And you say, "Okay, so who are your audience? What can you tell me about them? And, why are you wanting to speak to that audience?" And I think sometimes they don't know and they don't have answers to simple questions like, why do you want to speak to that audience subset? Why do you think that what message you're taking out is going to be important to them? Why do you need to deliver that? All of those questions, when they don't have answers to, they really scare me. And I wanted to know, what's your approach to helping them?
Well, that's a good question.
Have a hand grenade. Go.
Sometimes I just throw them to you because that's your specialty. Like, Hamish, help. But I would say, so I literally just talked to a prospect that I'm going to try to veil through not giving too many details. But I asked, this person was basically talking about how what they need to do is get in front of lawmakers and the general public to convince them that there's this law that they don't know about, that if they knew about could help them, and that this company is providing a solution to enable them to take advantage of the law that was put into effect in the Obama years. Okay. So it was like, okay, so are lawmakers your primary focus for the campaign? No, it's you too. It's everyone, because everyone needs to know about this, right? So then the conversation is, okay, so it's everyone. But that's not quite true either, right? Because it has to be homeowners. So then you have to, then it needs to be drilled down into, okay, people that can afford a home in the US, which is becoming more and more challenging, right? And so then what does that mean in terms of income levels? So, okay, great. So then we're targeting people in this age bracket with this income level who already own homes and need to know how they can shop around on this specific situation, right? So try again. I'm trying to vagarize this. That's not a word.
Vagarize. Wow. I thought my words were special today.
I know. I had to one up you.
Tick to you.
Maybe that's my word of the day. You'll never know. So you're like, yeah, right.
I'm gonna roll the dice and say it's not, but I could be wrong.
So anyway, I mean, so then I think it's a matter of just trying to help them drill down. But on the PR front, it's challenging because they're coming to you not for that kind of help. They're coming to you for press. So they want press release put out on Monday. Literally, this just happened. I want a press release put out on Monday to announce our new service. And, there's not time for, all right, let's pontificate about who we're going to and what the messaging is and all of that, right? You think that's my
Pontificate. I
word of the
like
day?
that word. Yeah, was that your word of the day?
No.
Okay, go on, please. Don't let me interrupt you.
But I'm so glad that my vocabulary inspires such confidence. Yeah. So anyway, I mean that's how I do it. But other than that, I don't really have a way of doing it the way that you do it. So what I'd love for everyone to hear is how you do it properly when you're when you're the marketing sage that Hamish is.
I stumble through, you mean, and I ask questions as my brain goes, shit. What do we say?
No, only you know that. Everyone else just thinks that charming Aussie accent hides, all of the
Thank you. Well, yeah, I think
insecurities.
well, yeah, that's what's going through my mind though. No, I sometimes find it very frustrating and I struggle. I have to stop and think, okay, is this a reflection of a poorly considered campaign, or is it that you actually are just so caught up in the forest you can't see the trees, or is it? And I try and step back and just ask a couple of questions. So I think you and I have been on a couple of calls with clients over the last few weeks, and I think sometimes at the moment everybody is a little bit reactive, and I think that people are just conceptualizing campaigns and they have a real yen to get things out there. I think that they think, well, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and I need to hit these figures, and I need to get my numbers moved. But they haven't thought about, well, okay, is it the audience? Are they looking to get more people? Is it they're looking to talk to the same people? Um, like you and I had a call recently where they said, we need to be doing this, and my first question to them was, well, is this about lead generation or about nurturing? And sometimes those simple questions, it's like we discussed last time, I think, the question of why, and some of those probing questions, why are you doing this? Is this for retention? Is this for nurturing? And you step it back a little bit. That's where you can actually see light bulbs go on and you actually get some real traction. And I think having those and not being afraid to actually throw ideas out there and say, look, this might not be what you're looking to do, but because we're not sure what your outcomes are driving towards at this stage, let's just spitball a few things and see what sticks. And sometimes they enjoy that because people like the creative process. It doesn't have to be an idea that then is necessarily what's put in place, because it can actually just be the germination of a bigger idea, or it can help cut other things off that you don't need. So I think the process is then about delving to a point where you're saying to them, okay, let's step it back, understand why, understand who, and understand what. And if you can get those three things nutted out in a little bit more depth, then you can actually write the brief for them or get them to refine it, and then you can go forward. And often that will help them define their audience. Oh, we're talking to existing customers, so actually we don't want to be going out on social media. We should be sending them a piece of direct mail, send them a greeting card, whatever it might be, because you then understand what the intent is. And context, bring it back to what I said before. If you don't have context, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter how good your campaign is. You need that context.
The X factor.
The X factor. That's what I call it.
Like the X in context.
Yes.
Very clever.
Yes. No, thank you. Yes, I once did up a wonderful graphic. I'll share that with you one day. Content with a big X across the end. The X factor.
I think I've seen that.
Have I shared it already? May have been in my socials at one point. I think we put that on our social feeds, but I could be wrong.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like I've seen it somewhere. So, but
Everybody, if you're very interested, we'll share a link in the comments later and you can look it up too.
perfect. It's very, very clever.
There's my little plug. But yeah, I think that's the key. I think sometimes just helping people understand what they don't know because they're just being reactive. And sometimes it's nothing more than that. It's not that they're out of their depth or that it's ill conceived. It's just they're reacting to the number crunchers who are sitting above them, or there's an opportunity in market that's a time crunch. And sometimes that's all it is. You just have to help them step back and relax.
Well, good. I think that's a great way to end that one and move on to campaign analysis.
Let's do it.
Okay.
This is always the juicy part. Do you want to lead the charge?
Yes. So, as I'm sure some of our listeners know, Peloton has had a lot of trouble recently.
Mm.
Unfortunately for Peloton, TV stars can't seem to stop, quote, dying on their Pelotons as part of the narratives. Let me get my head around this. So,
So what happened was,
oh
go on,
yeah, go ahead. No, you, please.
No, so Peloton, during the pandemic, when everyone was at home, sold products like it was hotcakes. They were selling everything from their treadmills through to their stationary bike apps, and people were gobbling them up. And they've come into a bit of heat for a few different reasons. There's been toddler deaths associated with things. And then, as you said, there's been stars on TV shows like Billions who are dying of heart attacks. And I believe it was one of the shareholders wrote to the board of Peloton saying that the CEO needed to be sacked because of declining results, because of the bad coverage, because of a number of different factors. And, the fact that they're legal stoushes left, right, and center at the moment. And I wouldn't want to be at Peloton. I think that's the crux of it.
Yeah, it will be rough.
But I don't know if all of it personally is probably warranted or fair. I think I think that they aren't being unfairly targeted. Yes, there's been deaths associated with it, but if someone drives their Ford into a tree accidentally, is there an uproar over Ford safety? If someone drink drives and they have a car accident, whose fault is it at the end of the day? So is it Peloton's fault? Is there a reason that a shareholder should be coming out? There are many different ways to skin this, but I think sometimes, you've got to step it back. You don't agree with me. I can tell this will be good.
Well, I do agree with you with one exception, which is that so they sponsored the HBO Sex and the City spinoff.
Yes.
And didn't know in what context Peloton's bike was going to be used. And it was when it came out, one of the main characters was having a heart attack while using the machine.
Yes.
And I feel like maybe somebody dropped the ball on the legal front of the context in which that could be. I mean, if I sponsored something like that for a client and I spent thousands of dollars, I mean, could be, I don't even know how many thousands of dollars to sponsor the new Sex and the City spinoff. And then our sponsorship money went into a scene where our product led to the death of a main character. Can you imagine how mad the client would be?
Look, absolutely. That is a very good counterpoint. I agree with you. It reeks of, well, we didn't do our due diligence to understand how that product was going to be used.
I mean, if I were a shareholder and my money were invested in this company, I'd be like, how could that happen? Like, how did you let that happen?
Look, I agree with you, but then, that's the equivalent, you have maybe it's not, maybe I'm being irrational, but if you see a James Bond film and, James Bond's getting around in his Aston Martin and he's being chased by guys in Range Rovers and he shoots and the car blows up, is that an indictment on Range Rover?
No.
They died.
Land Rover?
Land Rover, I'm trying to think of the last one, what they were in. Land Rovers? Maybe they were Land Rovers.
What are Range Rovers?
They're more the UK. Oh, look, I'm now going to be jumping on here. Excuse me, everybody. Please just talk amongst yourselves as I do some research. It was a Land Rover. Oh, no. Range Rover Sport SVR demolished in James Bond movie. The Range Rover Sport. Anyway, should they be upset? I mean, I understand your point. Yes, it's a little bit more pointed when it's a one-on-one scene, and the main character is using the equipment, and then they die. Does it
It's
look good? Are the optics good on this? No, no, definitely not. Would I want to be the brand's shoes? No. Does it reek of oversight and doing their due diligence? Say that 4 times quickly. Oh, well, it does. It says that they didn't, because they should have vetted that. And if they did vet it and they let that go through, well, they should have had some communication plans ready to go for that one.
pretty rough.
Yeah, look, I think that there's a little bit of an unfair pushback on them because, as I said,
I agree with that.
different brands can be associated with different deaths or negative things of many different characters across many different movies and TV genres, etc. So maybe it's unfair, but maybe the question is for you: what should they be doing to restore their brand image?
It's pretty rough.
Hello, April.
I know.
This is me from Peloton. I need help. What would you do for me?
I would need a lot of information in classic Hamish style about what have they done to date, what did they do to address it. I mean, most of these things now that they're past can't really be treated as crisis communications, but I think that they have to inform a couple of things. So one is that they have to inform the messaging. You have to make sure that I would retool their strategic messaging behind the scenes. It doesn't mean they have to implement it across the board, but you need to make sure that you're proactively addressing this, not by mentioning it directly, but through messaging around health and safety and wellness and security and things like that, where you're using buzzwords that are going to counter the negative
Mm,
perception. And then the other thing I think they need to do, if they haven't already, which I assume they have, is come up with a revised crisis communications plan that
mm-hmm,
has triggers related to all of these things. So you need to identify potential crisis triggers that could
mm,
arise because this happened,
mm-hmm,
and make sure you recalibrate the how you're framing what would be a 5 alarm red crisis versus a minor green crisis, and all of those different color codes you have to identify
mm-hmm,
which scenarios would fall into which categories. So I'm assuming they're doing something like that. Then I think the next thing they need to do is proactively do, if they aren't already, again, I'm just speaking in total hypothetical vacuum here, but
mm,
they would also need then to figure out, okay, what are some campaigns that we can do to position ourselves as committed to people's health and safety. And
mm,
it can't be so on the nose that people see that that's why you're doing it. Sort of like the New York Times campaign, right? It's sort of
mm,
like, oh, it's about you guys being independent and us supporting you in your independent journey, even though it's also that they're using independence as a buzzword to get that associated with the brand. So it would have to be something similar where you're doing, you know, stunts, campaigns, events, etc., sponsorships that all tie into health and safety,
mm.
and do it in a veiled way so it's not so obvious that's why you're doing it.
Mm. Well, I think you're right. And I think, I don't know if you saw in the article, there was a tweet from Peloton talking about the fact that, cardiovascular exercise helps people lead long, happy lives. And so they're trying to change the focus from, okay, yes, someone died on one of our products, to, well, actually, our products are designed to help people use them to try and stop what happened happening, to try and lead longer, healthier lives. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the issues that they're facing. But I think one of the other ones that they're obviously facing is lack of faith in the CEO at the moment, from a public perception,
Yeah, and
because
they
of the way things have been
probably,
handled.
unfortunately, I think to correct it, they probably will have to have someone fall on the sword. So even if it's not the CEO's fault, he probably has to be swapped out just for
Well,
optics,
they're talking about the fact that he's lost his
credibility.
pulse. His read of the market has gone. Peloton mistook a fad for a long-standing business model. Then it compounded the error by displaying arrogance in the face of complaints and reports of injuries. So it sounds like there was warning signs there for a while, and maybe, billions. All they've done is read the market, read the room, go, okay, well, people are complaining about this, and injuries, heart attacks, whatever. They've scripted it in, and it's taken off because it's actually hit a nerve. People are like, hey, that's what I've been talking about. And so I think not having dealt with this for so long has become as much the problem as the fact that it was shown on TV. And so maybe the shareholders writing into the board and asking for him to fall on his sword is not misguided. I know I'm oscillating between what I said before, that, should they be to blame? But maybe it's just this more systemic issue that it's been there for a while, and no one's addressed the elephant in the room, that there's a culture that exists that's driving the company down a rabbit hole that it shouldn't be diving down.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I do feel for them and their brand manager, because I do not envy them.
No, not
It's
at
a
all.
really, really difficult position to be in. But
I think we should shift gears to something
let's
happier
do
before.
so morose. Oh, our community, we have to reveal our buzzword scores.
Yeah. So, well, last week I got 2 points on you because not only did I use my word, I guessed yours in conversation. So I'm leading 2-0.
Yeah, I'm sort of beetle bombing, but I did get my word in today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So did I.
I didn't catch it at all.
I had no idea what yours was.
Nothing seemed
Pontificate,
out of place.
I thought was really good, but no.
Well, thank you. It wasn't that.
What was your word?
Are we doing our grand reveal now?
Yeah,
so
okay.
my word of the day was rebuke.
Rebuke. Oh, you seamless with that one.
What?
Seamless.
So what was
Mine,
yours?
yen. Yen. Yes, yen. Yen, for those who don't know, is not the Japanese currency. It is a noun and a desire or craving. As a verb, it could be yend or yenning.
I do remember you saying that, but it didn't stand out to me. What context did you use it again?
I think I said something like, people have a real yen for something.
You're so smooth with these.
I was sitting here struggling for a while. I was like, and then when I used it, I was like, well done me. What was I saying? So listeners out there, when you hear me stumble after I've got the word yen in, that's why, because I was congratulating myself.
I feel like your sting is now going to be smooth operator.
No, really?
Smooth operator. When I was little, I heard that song all the time, and I was totally convinced it was "Ooh Alligator."
Ooh, alligator.
I was walking around the house singing "Ooh Alligator," and my brothers were like, "What'd you say?" I'm like, "Ooh Alligator," like the song.
How old were you?
Oh God, probably 5, 6.
Yeah, you can be forgiven for that.
But I had a whole string. I don't think I've ever told you. I had a whole string of songs that I used to misunderstand. So I thought "Staying Alive" was "Staying a Line." Staying a line, staying a line. I thought that was that. And then I thought, this is the most complicated. And remember the song "Nobody Told Me There'd Be Days Like These"? I thought it said, "Don't be afraid of the big black bees."
Wow.
Very creative. So one lunch, I'm sitting there. We're at a TGI Fridays, which I'm sure you don't know what that is.
I know the TGIFs. Yeah.
Oh, do you? Okay. And we're sitting there.
Don't have them here, but I know them.
And the song comes on the radio. And I leaned over to my brother and I said, "Why are you supposed to be afraid of the big black bees?" You said, "What?" Uproar.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So our scores now, Hamish, are you 3 and me 1.
I think so. I guess
it's going to be hard to catch up with you.
Hi, everyone. Before we sign off, don't forget this week's promo code. The first person to submit code TRUSTANALYSIS2, that's TRUST analysis, number 2, will receive a free trust analysis for their brand with April and Hamish. Terms and conditions apply, and you can click the link in our show notes for more information and to sign up for this exclusive deal.
All right. Well, I think, April, that's probably everything we've got to talk about today. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, you can catch us every 2 weeks wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcasts.
Yes. And please subscribe, share the show with your friends, give us a great rating, assuming you love us, which you do. And that way it'll help us keep content coming your way and make sure that we're growing this community of communicators.
Love it. And if you have any suggestions or any questions that you'd like us to tackle in upcoming podcasts, fire them through, and we'd love to see them.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
There was a goat that got, no, I'm not even kidding you. There was a goat that was lost on top
Dr.
of
Dolittle.
this mountain that I like to climb. And I was like, shit, it's going to get eaten. It's here by itself. It had a baby. So I was like, oh, it's like, I can't not. So
Isn't that nature? Isn't that the circle of life?
Yeah, but the goats aren't supposed to be out on the top of a mountain getting eaten by cougars. They're supposed to be like down on the
mountain
farm.
Goats, then.
No, they had like lost their way. They were farm goats that had just gotten in the wilderness. Like they weren't supposed to.
Elton John tells me this is the circle of life.
No, it's terrible. It's so sad.
I don't like that.
You don't?
Right? Their eyes are evil. Vertical slits. No, thank you.
Oh my
Hello.
God.
It looks like you can put a coin inside. No.
So funny. They are so funny.
Have you seen their eyes? I mean, oh, no.
I have 2 goats.
I know you do.
They're so cute. They're like having a pet cartoon. They're not like a normal animal. The way they bleat is weird. The way they get mad is weird. Yeah. No, and they will like talk back to me. The lost goat, I came home and he was bleeding at me and I was like, come here, buddy, I got you. I'll fix it. And he's like, bah!
So we're all in agreement. Goats are weird and we shouldn't have them. Anyway, okay. I'll be nice to goats.
They're good at eating weed.
Yes, they are. I believe they are.
They're also good at eating everything else.
Perfect.
But yeah, anyway.